Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Free Game, Super Bowl Sunday free game. Um, before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you listen on audio, appreciate it. If you don't, go ahead and check those out on Apple and Spotify. Run those numbers up, baby. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. I'm almost to 100 subscribers. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed my little college bracket. That was a lot of questions about that one, but it's all right. We'll get into it when the season, I think it's like, 7 months away? So we got a while. But this week has been crazy. Crazy, guys. Fall off dropped. NBA trade deadline happened. And we just got off a Super Bowl. And I think it's safe to say that we might as well start off with the Super Bowl since I just got done watching it. And let me tell you something. My prediction was that the Patriots would win by 6. I was completely wrong, guys. I was so off, it wasn't even funny. 29-13, the score. The Seahawks blasted the New England Patriots. It wasn't even close. Drake May looked like a second-year quarterback, if I'm being honest with you. Lots of turnovers, lots of sacks, lots of, dumb decisions by him, especially in that second half. Like, they had it, it was 12-0 at half, 4 field goals. And let me say this, too. It was a very hard game to watch. You know what I mean? It's a Super Bowl, so you stick it out, and, you have, people and parties and stuff like that. But, man, it was just so tough to watch. Am I the only one that think that Super Bowl was really tough to watch? It's a defensive battle, which, I mean, we kind of all expected it to be, but not to this extent. And then finally Seattle, scores a touchdown. And, it looked like the Patriots, like, oh, they might have something here, There might be something here. They finally scored. There's still a whole fourth quarter left, but then I had to realize, oh, yeah, Tom Brady's not on this team. So there's no coming back. It was over. And sure as shit, it was over. I think they gave the Super Bowl MVP to Kenneth Walker III. He balled out, by the way. 27 carries for 135 rushing yards. Man, what a beast out of Michigan State. He's a dog, man. He's a dog. And good for him to get the MVP. I kind of figured he would because he was the only person really doing anything on both sides. But as far as the season goes, man, shout out to Seattle. I should have picked Seattle, and they were favored. They were predicted to blow this team out, and they did. But for some reason, I just thought Sam Darnold would be a shell of himself. And when you look at the numbers, you really have to watch the game. 19 for 38 for 202 and a touchdown. He really was super composed. It felt like nothing got to him, like mentally and physically. I mean, there were so many times where he could have been sacked like 5 times like Drake May was. But he just got out of it, stayed calm, made the right plays, and he got it done. I think the monkey's off of Sam Darnold's back from now on. I think from here on out we have to give him respect. And Minnesota, you got to be kicking yourself in the foot. It has to happen. Like, I personally do not understand how Minnesota let this fly. Like, it's insane to me. And, hats off to Sam Darnold, man. I mean, getting it done in the Super Bowl in, a team that just fired Pete Carroll. So McDonald's a first-year head coach, and you go in and you win the Super Bowl. You get the monkey off your back. You got JSN. You got Kenneth Walker III. Cooper Kupp balled out. He had 61 yards for 6 catches. That team's going to be scary for a while, guys. I mean, they don't seem dominant, but it just seems like those teams that just going to stick around. Kind of like the Eagles. But I see them winning a little bit more than what Philly had. You know, a lot of problems in Philly. But as far as the Patriots go, listen, this is your first year with Vrabel, second year with Drake May. You went to the Super Bowl. You have nothing to hang your hat on. I mean, to hang your head over. You faced the better team, and you have a lot to build off of going into this offseason. I'm pretty sure if you ask every Patriot fan before this season, it's like, hey, we're going to go, what was it, 17-4? Probably not, no, 17-3. And we're going to go to the Super Bowl, but we're going to lose with this iteration of the team with Mike Vrabel. And I'm pretty sure those people would be happy. There's no doubt in my mind. And, you know, it happens, man. The Chiefs got blasted in the Super Bowl last year. You know, the Bills, they made it to the Super Bowl, never been back. The Bills, man, they haven't been to the Super Bowl in what years? So the Patriots, they're this dynasty, right? This dynasty that doesn't have Bill Belichick, which is not a Hall of Famer, crazy, and Tom Brady. They're not there anymore. And you go to the Super Bowl without those two, yeah, you have something to hang your hat on. I think it was a successful season. Now, obviously, people would be like, well, if you lose in the Super Bowl, it's a failure. I get it. But you don't have Tom and Bill anymore. So you got to take what you get. And, yeah, Drake May's really young. And it showed. He didn't look like the almost MVP of the season. It definitely was Matthew Stafford. I think if you put Matthew Stafford and the Rams in that situation, it'd be a better game. But, hey, they didn't beat Seattle, so it is what it is, man. But, you know, if that's the Super Bowl, I got this baby carrot. All right, there we go. It was looking crazy. Let's talk about the halftime show. Guys, we need to cut it out, okay? I understand no one could understand anything, okay? I get it. I get it. Whatever your politics are, you don't have to argue with me about that, okay? It's a halftime show. All right? Why do we have to have competitive halftime shows? Who cares? Like really? Who cares? There has never been a year where there was alternative halftime shows because one side of the fence got upset. No one did it when Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Eminem and Kendrick were doing their halftime show. Nobody did it when Kendrick himself did a halftime show. And everybody kind of knew what was going on there. But Bad Bunny goes up there and he kills it. I'm sorry. He killed it. It was fire. I didn't understand what he was saying either. But I'm half Mexican. Okay? He's Puerto Rican. Same but different. And I'll tell you what one part of the Super Bowl halftime show really got me, and that was the wedding scene where he's singing and everybody's like at a play wedding and they got the bride and the groom and the kids sleeping on the bench, and you wake them up and you have old people dancing, you got young people dancing, you got middle-aged people dancing. It reminded me of my side of the family and what we did at my wedding and at every single party that you go to. So that part to me was cool. And it shows that there is a certain culture here. And what the halftime show does is it gives these artists a chance to show culture. Prince showed culture. One of the greatest halftime performances of all time. Michael Jackson, culture. Snoop and Dr. Dre, culture. Beyonce, culture. J-Lo, culture. Even Rihanna in The Weeknd. This isn't a big deal. Okay? He didn't say anything crazy. He literally said, what? Everybody is Americans. Together we're America. The only way to stop hate is to show love. It was positive. He didn't say anything about ICE. He didn't say anything about the president. He didn't say anything about white people. It was all positive. And for people to, I don't know, not really disrespect it, but just kind of poo poo it and go on to something else, y'all got it. Y'all got it. That's all I'll say about that. Y'all got it. This is listen. It's a sports show. It happened on a sports show, so I gotta talk about it. Okay, but yeah, shout out to Bad Bunny, man. That shit was fire. Let's get off the Super Bowl and let's talk about the recent drop of a superstar. The fall off has arrived. All right, listen. I gave it a few listens. Okay, I'm not reacting off of one listen. I really take my time and effort with albums like this. And I'll give some of the pros and afterwards I'll give some of the cons. Kind of what I liked about the album, what I don't like, what I could have done without. What did I like about the fall off? Well, I will tell you this. I am a person that appreciates introspective, personal albums, which means a lot of storytelling on where you came from, how you became who you are, and kind of what molds you. I kind of like that. I like storytelling albums. As a Kendrick fan, Nas fan, some of the greatest hip hop artists lyrically, this is what they do best, and I think Cole is one of the best at doing that as well. Um, some of the tracks that I did like, definitely Poor Thing. A lot of, hard rapping. Who the fuck is you? 2-6. Love that. I love the song with Burner Boy. Only You. And then there was one with Thames. I like the one with Thames on it too. In Future. Bunch Ride Blues. So lots of good stuff on here. I think that being J. Cole, he isn't really into features like that a lot. I think Forest Hills Drive, he had no features. So he was kind of a person that, doesn't focus on heavy featured albums, which I do appreciate. It means that you have to have a certain skill set and a lethal pen to continue to rap the way you rap to kind of control the ear of the audience, right? And Cole's storytelling ability from the first disc, where he's age 29, it's where he's coming back to North Carolina, to, visit family and friends and how everybody's kind of on him. And then, the second track is disc 39, where you're older going in and you witnessed and went through a completely different thing in your life. And I love that kind of stuff. He had stuff where he was dissing a local guy. And listen, coming up in this thing, I know I have people in my hometown that don't like me, that talk trash behind my back, and trust me, if I had a diss track, I would diss them too. But, he has stuff on this album for everybody. And I mean everybody, from the bottom of your life to you're kind of getting somewhere to, okay, now you're at the top. What's next, right? And, the fall off really hits all of those points. And I really do appreciate that about this album. Here is what how should I put this nicely? Here's my takeaways that I could do without, or my critiques. Okay, here are my critiques for the fall off. For one, 24 tracks is a lot. If this was cut down to about 16, maybe 17, I think I'm looking at this album completely different, and we're probably talking about a classic here. It's tough to have 24 songs on an album, and for having all of them or 80% of them be stamped surefire hitters. It's hard. I've always said that there's only one artist that could really go 24 and up, and that's Chris Brown. He makes 40 track albums, and 80% of them are going. He's the only one that can do it. So, with 24 tracks, you kind of get the same thing. I did say it's, storytelling, which I do appreciate, but if you don't like hearing that, that's pretty much the same kind of vibe through the whole album. Now, there's some songs on there that, are good club bangers or something that has a little replay value, but it's all in all a lot of the same stuff, kind of same flow, same tempo, just a different story, which, you know, um, if that's what you're into, it's what you're into, you'll kind of understand, how he's going about it. And it's his last album. I really don't have any other critique for it other than with the track list being so much, maybe add a little bit more features. I'm not saying make it feature heavy, but probably add in a couple of people that would fit the track list a little bit better and kind of switch up the flow of, us not getting used to hearing your voice in the whole album. And I think that would have made it a little bit more appealing to me per se. But all in all, this is his last album. J. Cole's one of the best rappers in the world. He doesn't have to prove that to anybody. He doesn't have to prove that to me, which, I mean, listen, I'm a Kendrick fan, but I have a lot of appreciation for Cole. And he doesn't have to prove it to Drake fans. He doesn't have to prove it to Kendrick fans. He didn't have to prove it to his own fans. I think his fans are eating this up and they love it, and as they should. When their favorite artists drop, you should be happy. But I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? I'm perfectly fine with how this album was, simply because J. Cole has that persona and accomplishment and resume to do whatever he wants to do on his final album. I have no problem with it. A lot of people are going to the song What If, where he made Biggie and Pac apologize, and they're like, okay, well, of course J. Cole's making people apologize. I get the concept. I understand, but I also understand where people are coming from with that. But I'm not going to critique this album too much. I would say, okay, I don't see myself going back to this album as much. I would definitely go back to Might Delete Later. I would definitely go back to 95 South. I would definitely, obviously, go back to his older stuff, but this, here's what it reminds me of, okay? I had a text with my boy Cody, and he's a Drake and Cole fan, hates Kendrick. And I told him, this is J. Cole's Mr. Morale. And immediately he texts me, he says, I don't think it was trash. And that's kind of what the sentiment of what everybody else would think, because everybody else thinks Mr. Morale was trash. So if you're calling this J. Cole's Mr. Morale, you think it's trash. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Mr. Morale and The Fall Off have a lot of similarities. Double disc, lots of storytelling, introspective, and personal. It's pretty much identical. This is just his version of it. Now, everybody killed Kendrick for Mr. Morale. But as a Kendrick fan, I understand where Cole is coming from with the fall off. Therefore, I won't kill him for it, because I understand it. I don't think it's trash. I don't think it's the best thing, right? But all in all, I guess I would say my expectations were, hearing the mixtapes, I thought that this was going to be the one to where it's going to blow me away, right? It's going to be one of those albums where I can't stop listening to it. Like, it's so good. I cannot stop listening to it. I'm cool with the listens that I gave it. It was for the moment, and I'm able to leave it at that and still walk away happy. I'm satisfied. I'm pleased with the fall off. There's no real critique or disagreement with how things were. He has the cachet to do whatever he wants to do on his final album. I will always respect Cole. I will always respect his pen, but where would we put this album in his discography? That's the thing. I'd have to go back and look. I'm not really a huge Cole fan. I know a couple. I would love to ask them where they would put this album in his discography of albums that he's created before. I'm really interested to see how high or low they have it, because for me, my Delete Later was better, even though it's an EP. Obviously, Forest Hills Drive was better. 95 South was better. And even if we go into this year, what he dropped in the beginning of the year, like he always does, shout out to him. I don't see this being better than Don Toliver's album. I can't stop playing that album. Iceman's coming up. I suspect it to be better than this simply because of the style of rapper Drake is. It should be 10 times better than this, because he's on a different mission than J. Cole is. So, yeah, the fall off was cool. I appreciate it. I appreciate J. Cole. I appreciate the album. And who knows, maybe I will go back to it, because even with Mr. Morale, I gave it a couple listens, and I said I'm probably never going to go back to this album again. And I didn't. But, years go by, and then you check it out, and then you're in a different space in life where the stuff that you heard that you didn't understand now makes sense. Maybe this is Cole's Mr. Morale, and that is no shot whatsoever, because I don't think Mr. Morale was trash. I don't think the fall off is trash. I just think that it's introspective, it's personal, it's for the people that really fuck with him, and you know what? You can't knock that. You can't knock that. So, shout outs to J. Cole, shout out to the fall off. It's doing crazy numbers as it should, and hopefully, maybe we don't get a retirement from Cole. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. But let's get to the Warriors, man. Good God, guys. So the Warriors, they did something that was so left field that I don't understand it at all. So if you guys didn't understand, or if you guys were living under a rock, okay, there was a lot of reports that the Warriors had the best offer to get Giannis. The best. If Giannis wanted to walk right now, the Warriors would get him because they had the best offer. And unfortunately, Giannis said no. I don't want to go to the Warriors. So, like I said, the Warriors really always had a plan B, to where if we don't get Giannis, we get somebody else that is not of that caliber of plan A, but plan B is good or just as good. Guys, we got Kristaps Porzingis. What the fuck are we going to do with Kristaps Porzingis? He doesn't play. He has, lung COVID and something with his knee. And we gave up Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis, and we didn't get any picks back. When I seen the news, I immediately thought everything I said was right. This is the worst front office, the worst ran organization in the NBA. There's no doubt in my mind anymore. I was holding on for hope. maybe the Giannis trade will change it. Maybe another big trade would change it. Something to get Steph some help, and you give him a guy that doesn't play. For a guy on your team that wants to play, but you won't play him. We could have got Anthony Davis. I would have been happy with that. We could have got Trey Murphy. We could have got Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Vucevic. Who else? I would even take Lonzo Ball. But no, you get a 7'3" guy who doesn't play. This is known that he doesn't play. I don't know what I honestly don't know what this organization is doing. I don't. Like, I've tried holding on hope. I said, you know what, maybe they will get their stuff together, right? Maybe they will swing for the fences and actually get it, you know? But no. We get Kristaps Porzingis. Beautiful. Another big trade that happened, James Harden heads to Cleveland, and I believe Darius Garland goes to the Clippers. Pretty even trade, but me personally, I think that's a perfect fit for James, simply because what we know of James Harden is the step backs, the high flying scoring, and, drawing fouls and just volume shooter, right? But the older James gets, the more he defers to his superstars. And he's okay with being the pseudo point guard, averaging, 8 to 10 assists a night. And then when you need him to go out and go get a bucket, then you can go and do that, right? So I think that was a great trade for Cleveland. And, Darius Garland, the Clippers get a solid point guard who, hopefully can get his chance. He's been hurt with a lot of toe stuff, but Darius Garland is a very good guard, very good scoring guard, and will take pressure off of Kawhi for sure. Another big trade, like I said, Nikola Vucevic heads to the Celtics, and I believe Anthony Simons goes to Chicago for that trade. For the Celtics, that's huge. Huge. Nikola has been kind of a hot commodity for a lot of NBA championship contending teams because he is a big who can stretch the floor, gives you a lot of, scoring and rebounding, and is a solid defender as well. And for Boston to get him is crazy because they were in the luxury tax. So getting Nikola, having Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and then you get Jason Tatum back, this is a move not for this year, but for next year when Tatum's healthy. Because I do think that the Celtics are going to keep both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I don't see them splitting those two simply because they work. They need each other. I get it. Jaylen Brown has been going crazy when Jason Tatum isn't on the floor. He's an MVP candidate, and he deserves to be. But there's something about when those two get there, that's the two. They grew up together in the NBA. They went to the finals. They've won the finals. You need to keep both of them. Unless you can get a Giannis per se back, then trade him, I guess. But I'm still the belief that you need to keep Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown together because that's what won you guys the championship. So I don't think there were any other big trades. Well, I guess Jonathan Kuminga to Atlanta. What does that do for them? I simply think that it just adds another young piece with Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels. What are you going to get at Kuminga? You're going to get a solid slasher who is able to get his own shot, create his own shot. Very athletic, but not the best shooter and not the best defender. A lot of people from the Warriors hated Kuminga. I wasn't that big of a hater for Kuminga, to be honest with you. Like, um, I I really wish that it would have worked out because he's shown potential. He's only 22 years old. So, hopefully Atlanta can get it done and hopefully, those guys can, you know, help him out. And, they got a lot of other young guys out there. You don't have the pressure of Steph and the expectation of the Warriors. So hopefully he can have a successful thing there and him and Jalen Johnson, that'd be a fun little lineup, fun little young lineup. The Lakers landed Luke Kennard, which is another 3-point shooter. Well, I think he's shooting 49% from three this year, out of Atlanta. And listen, you add LeBron and Luka, another shooter, they're going to be successful. Over the careers of Luka and LeBron, they need shooters around them just because of their play style. They're very dominant on the ball. They love to kick out to corners if they're slashing. And, just adding that to another piece for the Lakers, I think it'll help them out, space the floor a lot for Luka and LeBron. And, they'll be a lot better. But, who else? Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz. Very interesting move there. I didn't think Jaren Jackson Jr. would be the one traded and Ja Morant not. But it is what it is, man. Listen, I think the Utah Jazz are going to be potentially good depending on where they are in the draft. They're big heavy. I would say that. And, they got Keontae George, obviously, but they're really big heavy. And, you got Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., I think they got another trade as well. Let me look here. It wasn't just Jaren Jackson, I don't think. It might have been. I thought they got somebody else. But, you pair him with Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler, Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a big lineup, right? And you still got Ace, and you still got a high pick that is, top 8 protected. They're going to be the young up-and-coming team, I believe. And, I think they'll be all right. And the Wizards, let's end it on the Wizards because I told you guys the Wizards were not done when they were trading for Trae Young. I said there was going to be something else, and sure as shit there was. Anthony Davis is headed to Washington with Trae Young. I think this benefits Trae and AD. Gives Trae a lob threat. He can also stretch the floor. Very good defensively. AD, you get another point guard that you can, help dish the ball off to. He's really a 3-point facilitator, if you will. Very lethal in mid-range and obviously from deep. We have to look back at Anthony Davis's career and think back to ourselves, when was the moment that the downfall of Anthony Davis occurred? That's always my question. Like, he goes from the Pelicans, dominant. The Lakers, dominant early in his Lakers years. And then he's just riddled with injury after injury after injury. And Stephen A. Smith said a great point last week, which if you guys didn't check out Stephen A. and Skip back together on Gil's Arena, please go do that. When I tell you it was so good and so refreshing to hear Stephen A. and Skip in the same room talking about sports again, man, I've never been happier. Nostalgia never hit me the same because, to be quite honest with you, ESPN isn't the same, Fox Sports isn't the same, nothing is the same anymore. But to hear those two jar back and forth again was so refreshing. But Stephen A said something, I think it was Skip actually. He brought up the bubble, right? And well, it was Stephen A. The bubble benefited AD because of the long layoff. If there was no bubble or COVID, Anthony Davis probably wouldn't make it through the playoffs. And that made sense. So, a couple years ago, he was very healthy with the Lakers, but this year and last year, it was just injury after injury after injury. When are we going to see a healthy Anthony Davis? Or are we ever going to see a healthy Anthony Davis? If not, what does this do for Trae Young and the Washington Wizards? Now, like I said, I would take AD over Kristaps Porzingis because at least he plays a little bit more. At least he doesn't have a lung COVID or a mysterious disease that we don't know about. But if AD is healthy with this team, guys, I'm telling you right now, I still don't think they're done. They still got a chance to be high in the draft, and the offseason is going to be right around the corner as well. They're going to be players in that too. If they get another piece, like a Michael Porter Jr., like I said, I think that team is going to be dangerous in the East. If AD is healthy. But, like I said, wishing all AD the best because he's amazing as a basketball player when he's healthy. One of the best two-way bigs, the stretch bigs in the league when healthy. So, no Zion movement, no Ja movement. Who else? I think that is it. I don't think there was any other massive moves that we needed to talk about, really. Giannis is staying with the Bucks. He posted on Twitter the "I'm not leaving," the Wolf of Wall Street thing, which was clownish behavior to me because he was literally pouting the whole time this year. Pouting. Telling the organization, I want to leave, but I don't want to go anywhere that'll jeopardize my career and this and that. And no, the Warriors, I don't want to go there. I prefer New York, Minnesota, or Miami. And then you tweet, "I'm not leaving." Listen, man, the fan base has been booing you. That type of behavior will get you booed again. I'm just saying, you look clownish, man. If you want to leave, leave. If you're going to stick around when your team is, 12th in the East? 11th, 12th in the East right now? You got it. You guys just picked up Cam Thomas today. That's cool. 21 a night score. You don't pass that bitch, though. I'm telling you, Cam, don't pass. High volume shooter. Is that going to get it done? Is that going to have Giannis stay? I don't think so. But yeah, a very mid trade deadline, if I would say so myself. The Giannis not moving thing really kind of took it downhill from there, but other than that, there wasn't really big moves that made you say, oof, But it is what it is, man. I think the off season will be back to what it used to be. You know what I mean? And guys, the All-Star game is coming up soon. I just want you guys to, put the free game format in your brain before you watch the USA versus World. How the world is saying, oh, we're going to take it serious. We're going to take it serious. And the USA is saying, yeah, we're going to take this thing serious. Are you? Huh. Well, Adam, if they don't, I have a format for you. You should know by now the free game format. Whoever wins the conference gets to play in. Whoever doesn't win out of their respective conference, they don't get to play in. I've said it about 4 or 5 times on this channel right now. That's the format. I will be watching in hate. I will be watching in disbelief. I will be watching in disgust because I know for a fact it's not going to work. This format stinks. It stinks. Doesn't make any sense. It's carnival. And I hope you guys listen to what I have to say. But, yeah, that is it. The free gamer of the week is going to Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless returning together. God, that was good. They brought out the LeBron talk. Hearing Stephen A. try to defend LeBron after what LeBron did Stephen A. is crazy to me. But Skip Bayless will be the only one to get it out of him. And they can kind of be a little looser on Gil's Arena. Shout out to Gil's Arena, man, for what they are doing with sports in general. Adding a football show along with the basketball show. I think the basketball show is better than First Take, in my opinion, simply because, listen, you can kind of say whatever you want, and they're all former players, so they all have a certain perspective. They're not all journalists or media or podcasters. They're all former players, and good ones at that. And it's real raw, it's uncut, it's real talk. And I know First Take doesn't really talk just basketball, but now that they're maneuvering into football, you're kind of getting that First Take-ish kind of platform now. And I think what Gil's done is insane to get Stephen A. and Skip back together in a room talking sports. It was refreshing, and it really, really made me appreciate those First Take years. Even with Stephen A. and Max. If Max came back and talked to Stephen A. and just talked about sports, I would think that would be better than what is going on right now. Now listen, I love Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton's a superstar. Even though he went to Auburn, I love me some Cam Newton. He's entertaining, he's energetic, and he knows what he's talking about. He's super sharp. And he's a character. So you got to have those things on there. I love Cam Newton. Everybody else, I really don't care. The Ryan Clarks, the Dan Orlowskis, whoever it may be. Anybody but Cam. I mean, that First Take, I don't watch or listen anymore. It's all Gil's Arena or Pat McAfee. So, but shout out to Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless for getting in a room together, bringing back some nostalgia, bringing back the original sports debate talk, the original cast. It was great. It was amazing. And if you guys didn't see it, go check it out right now. You won't be disappointed. Okay? But that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe. I'm almost to 100 subscribers. Please subscribe for me. And if you listen on audio, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, I appreciate it. If you are not, please go do that right now. But that is free game, and I'm out.